Did Ryan Reynolds, Wesley Snipes, and director SHAWN Levy screw Mahershala Ali out of his upcoming role as Blade in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? I'm not sure, but let's get the conversation started right here on Cinema Jive. Let's go.
Jive turkey.
All right, y'all. Welcome to Tree Men on the podcast, and this is Cinema Jive. I posed a question at the beginning run of this post asking, did Wesley Snipes, Ryan Reynolds, and director SHAWN Levy screw Mahershala Ali out of his upcoming role as Blade in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Now, I'm sure by now, all of you who enjoy geekdom have seen the blockbuster runaway film Deadpool and Wolverine. If you haven't, you must have been living under a rock, and you must not be part of geekdom. So, in the film, Wesley Snipes reprises his role as the iconic Blade, the original Blade, by the way. And he had a very interesting line during one of the scenes where he says, "There is only one Blade, and there will ever only be one Blade." And when he says that line, Ryan Reynolds directly looks into the camera with one of his classic fourth wall breaks and gives the raised eyebrow look of, "Yeah, MFer, he said that, and I co-sign it," right? And I think, from my opinion, and this is everything I'm saying here is solely based on my opinion. When I saw that and heard that line, I immediately thought, is this a shot at Mahershala's portrayal of Blade? Where did this come from? Was this something done by Snipes, or was this a concerted effort from the minds behind the movie? I just really didn't know. So when I got home and I took a little time and I sat down and I started researching, I was like, okay, where did this line come from and who was this line directed towards, right? And I was like, because it was such an odd thing to say. And it was, I mean, of course, when the line was uttered, everybody went crazy in the movie theater, right? And so did I. I was like, oh shit, is Snipes back as Blade? And I started researching some things like, okay, where did this come from? Was this something that was impromptu from Snipes? Was this something that was written by Reynolds and Levy? And of course, when I did my research, I pulled up an article from Screen Rant that I'll put on the screen where this was completely scripted by director SHAWN Levy and Ryan Reynolds, right? Because they wanted to bring Snipes back in as a cameo for Blade. And when they wrote this, it was actually scripted. So just to clear the record here, Snipes did not impromptu this. He actually signed off on it. He found it actually quite hysterical. Even in interviews, he said he thought it was hilarious. But from my opinion, it goes a little deeper than just surface level stuff, right? I know a lot of you may be under the impression that this was actually levied against Ali. And I don't think so. I don't think so. Not from what I've read, right? I read this here, right? When I read this, and I'll put it on the screen for you guys to read, and you can pause to read. It was scripted, and I think who this was directed to was this guy, Sticky Fingers, right? I think this whole kick up was over the Blade live action series that had 13 episodes and that didn't do really well, and horrible casting for Blade, by the way. I have nothing against Sticky Fingers. I love Onyx. That first album was phenomenal, right? I don't think as an actor he could carry a role like Blade. It's just an iconic role that Snipes cemented himself in, and that when we all think about Blade, we all go to Snipes. Even right now, with Mahershala's portrayal in the upcoming film, we still think of Snipes. And I think this right here, when it was scripted by Reynolds and Levy, and of course Snipes signed off on it, I think this was an absolute jab at Sticky Fingers' portrayal in the live action series as Blade. I don't think this was aimed at Mahershala Ali at all. I think this was levied against Sticky Fingers' role as Blade in that TV series. I think Snipes got a little bit of redemption here to say that, hey, any Blade after me isn't Blade. I am that Blade. But I don't think it was aimed at, Mahershala at all. I don't think it was aimed at his attempts to usher in a new Blade in the MCU. I think this was directed, and all the ire was aimed at the live action series. And I can't remember exactly when it came out, but I watched about 1 or 2 episodes. I couldn't get with it. I didn't like it. I didn't like Sticky Fingers' portrayal as Blade. He didn't sell me on the fact that he was Blade because I got so used to Snipes in the role, and Snipes made that role his own. So the series just wasn't that for me, and it didn't do anything for me. So I think this whole kick up, this whole redemption that Reynolds wanted for Snipes in the movie, and when he said that line, I think this was aimed at that show. I think it was aimed at that series, and with good reason. The series kind of tarnished the Blade name, the Blade IP. And of course, it was short-lived, and a lot of us forgot about it, but I think Snipes never did. I think Snipes felt a type of way about it because during the time they wanted to do the show, Snipes had a couple of things going on. He was a big movie star, and back then, a movie star stepping down into TV was kind of frowned upon. It was like you were taking a step backwards or a step beneath where you were as a movie star. And of course, coming off Blade Trinity, he had a lot of issues on set. He really didn't jive with the direction they took the film, and he oftentimes didn't show up to set unless absolutely necessary. And his stunt double did a lot of work on the film. So I think he was labeled as problematic, and they didn't want to bring him on for the TV series. And not that I really believe he wouldn't have did the show because I don't think they could pay him enough. And I think at the time he was just such a big movie star, he didn't want to step down back into television. So I think, from my opinion, because none of this is concrete, none of this has been verified, this is all my opinions here. I think Snipes took a jab at the show, at the series, and with good reason. I think this was his redemption run, his redemption arc in the movie Deadpool and Wolverine. And I think he was absolutely justified in signing off on it and wanting to do that line. And I think, as a fan of the iconic Blade that was portrayed by Snipes, I agree with it. I think he should have shat on that crappy ass TV series, and he did it in the most profound way in one of the biggest movies of the summer, which, by the way, is probably going to be the only big movie of the summer. And I think it was needed, and I think Snipes got his just due and his redemption, and I'm for it, man. Now, do I think that Snipes can continue to reprise his role as Blade? Sure, I think that the multiverse fell apart. It's never been done right from DC or Marvel, but I think if Snipes can be a variant of Blade in the MCU, I'm okay with it. I think he can do a good job. I think both him and Ali's portrayal of Blades can stand side by side, and I think one can do its own thing and the other can do its own thing, and I think they can coexist. And I think the fans, as well as someone like myself who is a fan, I don't see a problem with it. We have more than one Batman. We have more than one Joker, and they're doing quite well in their own perspective universes. And I think Snipes has a place where he can continue to reprise his role, I should say, as Blade. And I think the fans and I think everyone would be okay with it. And I think what happened in Deadpool and Wolverine was a celebratory run for Snipes, and I think it was well deserved. That's all I got, man. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, get it cracking in the comments if you're digging on what I'm putting down. Always tune in over here to, check out the show, man. It's a new show. It's a new channel I have. This is something that's close to my heart. I am fully enthralled in geekdom, from the anime, the manga side, all the way to the movies, horror movies. This is something I do and I enjoy quite often. I've never stepped into the YouTube realm to do it or present it to an audience, but this is something that I like. My heart is very much so on this side of the niche content of YouTube. I just love geekdom. So if you digging on what I'm putting down, man, subscribe, support your boy. This has been Tree Men in a Podcast. I'm one of the Tree Men, and this is Cinema Jive. I hope to see y'all soon, man. I'll catch y'all in the credits. 2 fingers. Peace. I'm out. Catch y'all in the credits.